to you in front of a live studio audience from the lovely Archipelago Studios in the heart of Takaranto. It's BND TV. Joining us on today's episode are Rob Feetham, Derek Kwan, with musical guest Laura Barrett, and I'm John Millard. BND TV is brought to you by Bad New Days, creative producer Victor Pokinko. And now, introducing your magnificent host, Bad New Days artistic director Adam Paolozza, and local pianist and wag Gregory
Hello everyone, welcome to BND TV. I'm Adam Paolozza.
I'm Gregory O.
And I'm Victor Pokinko.
And we are so excited to bring you this episode of BND TV where it's a chance for us to bring some of the artists that we love from the community on and just big them up, give them a chance to talk about their art and get into some hopefully deep conversations.
How well do you know your neighbor? You'll find out.
Yeah, like they're gonna have a bevy. It's everything you love about talk shows mixed with everything you love about theater, all in one place here on BND TV.
Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be a really cool episode because I personally love clown, and both of our guests today are experts in their own ways in clown. We've got Rob Feetham, who is a deviser, actor, clown, adapter, new dog daddy.
That's perfect because we got Derek Kwan, who is also an actor. He is a singer. I mean, he sings Tom Waits just as easily as he sings Nessun Dorma. He's also the artistic director of Common Boots Theater and quite a clown himself.
That's true, that's true. So, without further ado, let's have a nice big welcome for Derek and Rob.
Thank you, say goodbye. Thank you for having me.
Derek.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
Oh wow.
Oh yes.
Thank you.
BND TV, that's what we do, we take a pre-order. Welcome to the show, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eyes. I knew that was going to make one of the cuts. Well, Derek and Rob, welcome.
Thank you.
So let's start off with what's new. Rob, I hear you just got a new dog.
I did. I have a 4-month-old Cocker Spaniel named Mulder.
Like Fox Mulder?
Like Fox Mulder,
Nice.
yes. Yes, and I've had him for about a month now.
So you're just bristling with joy. And,
yes, and I'm very tired.
Yes,
It's like having a little baby.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
And Derek, you're just coming back from Stratford, is that right?
Yeah, I did. We premiered a new opera for children at the Here for Now Festival.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, I would just like to start by having the two of you, maybe we'll start with Derek, just how would you introduce your practice? And we said some stuff before, but I always like to hear it I like to make sure we got it right. I like to hear it in your own words.
I'm a theater creator and performer. I get to do lots of really great things that are intersectional, from music and opera through to clown and mime, puppets and things in between, which is really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, you said something in the questionnaire, the theater is the mongrel of the arts.
Yeah. Because in theater, we get influences from everywhere.
Yeah.
Right, and so anything is ripe for the taking. So we're just kind of like bits and pieces of all sorts of other art forms as well, which I think is part of its strength. That the variety in form and approaches that we get to dabble in.
Yeah. And I think I remember I read somewhere historically theater wasn't always considered an art. Like music and painting were the thing, but theater was like something ambiguous, something else. So I think, and it's due to this kind of mongrel nature of it, I think, and that's also why I like it a lot as well. So we get to bring in music. I get to work with people like all of you guys. Rob.
Hello.
Rob, I hear you're a clown. No, but how would you describe your practice in your own words?
Just hold
That's a boss move.
That clune.
Beautiful sip, by the way.
How would I describe my practice? Well, I'm always seeking the freedom of play. I think that's for me the most important. I think like Derek, I touch upon mime and clown and puppetry and just like performance in general, but I'm always asking myself when I'm inside of it and when I'm working, is it bringing me joy? Am I having fun? Like I think like for me, that's, I mean, the main reason why I do this work, and I'm not working anywhere else. Like, I'm here because I'm having fun, and if I'm not having fun, then I'm in the wrong room, and I need to continue searching. So I think I'm always asking myself, am I having fun?
I love something that you said. You referred to what you do as epic minimalism. Could you just kind of unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, well, it's a new adventure for me right now. I just adapted Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth into a mime show. So no props, no set other than a chair. I didn't speak a single word, and I told the whole story of Journey to the Center of the Earth. So I feel like it's like, for me, it's telling really big stories using nothing but your body. Although I do make sounds with my mouth, that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's just it's taking away all the bells and whistles and telling giant stories. I think.
Yeah.
As I continue to search.
Total sense to me. And Derek, you mentioned something that you're interested in too is a dramaturgy of pleasure, and I feel like that touches up on some of the things Rob is saying too about finding that joyfulness, pleasure. Like, these are not just frivolous things; they're important, right?
Yeah, I think they're incredibly profound and what we need. It's part of what makes us human, but also as a creator and a performer, yes, that's pleasure. When something hits the mark, when something's like, oh yeah, okay, I wanted that to happen. And the same thing as a director and as an audience member watching shows, there's often have those experiences of, I want it to go further, or like, it's when what you want happens, it's very pleasurable. And I think it's something that Keith Johnstone talks about too, about, give the audience the obvious answer because they want it, and we love you for it. So I always try to, be obvious, be obvious, like simple, the simplicity of it. Yeah. Sometimes it's the simplest choice is the best one, and the pleasurable one. Yeah, finding the play in it, finding the pleasure, finding the textures within it. And allowing those to unfold and to live.
Yeah. I see a lot of interesting stuff on the internet lately too, but people talking about, what do they call it, like pleasure activism, or different ways that artists are using their practice, whether it's dance or theater, and referencing the idea of pleasure. And I think that maybe there's something, maybe, dare I use the word political there, or something a little more like advocating for that as a state that we need more of in the world, maybe. Like.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the things I am trying to address, I guess, in general, is we're in a time where human beings are often reduced to cogs in a machine, and pleasure is, in that respect, a revolutionary act, because it's a reclamation of our humanity.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was last year in China, there was a whole movement called the Lying Down movement.
Oh, yeah.
And it was specifically against the rat race. Where people are working all the time, and it was like people who like dropped out of society and said, no, I'm literally lying down. And that became a political thing. So, rest, joy, pleasure, like, they're very human. They're very, Well,
that's interesting because, like, in this industry, the theater industry, like, we continue to celebrate the grind. And people talking about how much sleep they haven't had, and then we go, oh my God, that person's really successful because they're not sleeping, and we praise that, and we forget that we're playing recess, we're telling stories, we're goofing around, like we're imagining, like so it's just like we've also, like myself included, sometimes forget that, like, that yes, it's work, but it should be pleasurable work.
Yeah.
Was that easier to find? Sorry, Adam. Was that easier to find earlier on in your career when you didn't worry as much about money, or was like more of an abstract concept, or? No.
I think it's easier now for me.
Yeah, I think I'm seeking it out more now. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's I think a lot of artists have a difficult time. They compare themselves to a lot of other artists. And as I get older and I continue to like find my own particular practice, I stop trying to be that other artist and just get grounded in my own self. And so I find as I get older, I get more grounded, I think.
Yeah, my journey too is similar, because starting off in classical music, it's a very, you get that beat out of you. Individuality is like just beat out of you, right? And coming to clown, coming to the moment, coming to imperfection, coming to a journey, looking at everything as a process instead of a commodity as a result, as a product, gives a lot more freedom. And it's a lot more fun.
So if quickly, can you explain to me, like I'm 5 or a classical musician,
Okay.
what does it mean to be a
Where you're
clown?
going with this.
What does it mean to be a clown?
I'd
For
like to-
me, clown is a philosophy and an approach. And increasingly, it has inroads into all the things I do. For me, it also is tied with Buddhist spirituality. And it's a way of, for me, facing the unknown and being able to accept the vagaries of life and get through it. Because I'm one of these people who, I think in the past, when I'm faced with chaos, I would hunker down and tighten up. And I found that I need to do the opposite. Ride the wave.
Well, what's your take?
Oh,
It's like a mystical word, right?
yeah, it's because there is so many ideas and forms of clown, and I myself can easily get quite pretentious and just be like, well, just because they have a red nose on, it doesn't make it clown. But I think if they are able to access sort of this naivete and being in the moment, I feel like that is it. Like, I feel like it's the beautiful idiot. I also try not to use the work as therapy. Like, I do my best not to use the work as therapy, but there is something therapeutic about clown, and growing up, school was tough, it took me a little extra to learn to read. Mathematics were terrible for me, I'm zipping around and but I've always felt stupid, right? And this sort of idea of feeling dumb and not taking these big leaps or chances, because I always was just like, failure is terrible, I feel stupid. And then all of a sudden I discovered clown, and they were just like, oh my God, you're so stupid. and I was just like, holy shit, I'm the stupidest one in the class. That's awesome. Like, how great is that to be like the best idiot? Like, and it was just school trauma. Like, I released I am an idiot. So
It's very freeing.
it is freeing. Yeah. And we did Gaulier together.
Right.
We did like the 2-week Gaulier
Yeah.
workshop. He's a master clown from France, and we both got a chance to dive into that, and that was, so we got to play a little
That
bit.
was a seminal experience.
Yeah.
I remember you both being very funny in that workshop.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, let's have a look at, we're going to look at 2 clips. We're going to look at Derek, one of you doing a song from The Cave.
Right.
And Rob, we have a clip of you doing a little clown bit from Italian Mime Suicide, a theater piece. Derek, is there anything you want to say about that song before we have
This
a
is
look?
Beaver, right?
It's Beaver, yes.
Yeah. It's Beaver. I don't know what else to say.
I will say, too, that Gregory O is the musical director of the song in the piece. And John Millard was the composer, our announcer, so it's all family.
And you were the director.
Wow. We don't need to talk about that. Yeah. Let's have a look.
I've a beer in a pod that I work. I'm a beaver in a pond and I work, I work some more and I use my teeth. I'm a working in the morning, I'm a working in the night. I'm a working in the morning, working in the night. I work so hard, I have no peace. They call me Bobby Beaver and I love my name. Bobby Billy Beaver with a great big teeth. A nickel and a pickle and a jiggle and a boo. I work so hard, I have no time to eat. Now I was born the 10th of 16 kids, a bunch of baby beavers in a one big hole. We were happy creatures in the big thick bush, learning how to chew from one big bowl. And we grew up to be bigger than a great big rock, and we started working hard for a dad big burst, chewing on trees and hollering timber, then dragging all the logs to the river through the dirt. With the building of this house and a building of this dam, I'm making little tunnels in the wet black soil. Bobby Billy Beaver grew a great big beard and hitched up with a beauty named Betty Bella Boyle. And we in turn gave birth to a dozen little beavers who learned how to work like Granddad Burst. They worked so hard they almost died, dragging all the logs to the river through the dirt. Work all day on a dam by the river. It's so damn hot, it kinda makes you wonder why it's so damn hot on the dank dark river. It kinda makes you quiver. I work so hard that I have no time left.
So, Derek, before we move on and have a look at Rob's clip, anything you want to contextualize with that?
It's so weird to watch that again, because that was a while ago and we've done it since then, so it's
That's
changed.
True, yeah, it has changed, yeah.
It's changed, and I'm like, oh, we didn't do it that way before. We don't do it that way anymore.
Yeah, it was a journey. Go ahead.
Which I appreciate, because that's one of the gifts of working on the cave, is that we have been able to do it so many times and find new things. And that's something I find we don't get a lot of opportunity to do here in Canada, is to reapproach pieces and to learn more and to put more into it. So that's something that I really appreciate, is when I get to revisit a piece and go further.
Yeah. I thought that piece for you really showcases a lot of your talents too, as like comedic talents, a bit of clowning, the singing training, storytelling.
Thing.
Oh, well, yeah, like you said, we found new stuff as the thing went on. Cool. Great. Well, Rob, let's have a look at your clip. It's anything you want to say to set it up, or should we just watch? Totally up to you.
I mean, this little clown bit that I'm doing, it came out of improv, and it came out of just like wanting to make people laugh, and it ended up being put in a show, and comes out of my love of slapstick for sure.
Awesome. Let's have a look.
La Lune.
before we unpack that clip, Rob, I just want to say, Carrie Peterson, who's a guest on another episode, and myself directed that piece. And actually, Allie Marshall, who did the set deck and wardrobe for this show, did the costumes in both The Cave and Italian Lime Suicide. So big shout out to Allie and Carrie. Carrie and I were stuck in this process. We didn't know what to do. We had to open in like a week or something. We didn't really have much. And Rob was literally just making us laugh on break with that ball. And we were like, that's it. That's the beginning of the show. Thank God we have something.
I have solved so many problems over lunch. Sometimes you just need to like get some food in you and then just goof around. And yeah, I was just going around just chasing the ball. And you went, say la loon, la loon. And then that was history.
So let's move on and talk about process a little bit. Both of you sometimes devise, or you approach the creation in a different way. Maybe if you could just tell us a little bit about, maybe we could start with Derek, if you're working on something new, and whether or not you're like Derek, you mentioned something that you like to maybe be the lens a little more for people's process, or help kind of catalyze some raw material that's already existing.
Yeah, more recently I've been doing more directing and dramaturging, and I really enjoy it. I'm not a writer where I can sit down in front of a computer and just type something out. I like, I guess for me, more shaping and editing and moving elements around and asking questions. So that's a big part of what I do is asking questions. You know, as a dramaturg with a creator, it's, you know, where does the story want to go? Opening up possibilities, opening up opportunities, asking questions about the world, about the characters, about the where the story wants to go. Yeah, similarly as a director, I find it's trying to open up, unfolding, unpacking. Yeah, and increasingly it's letting things just arise, right? Like you're saying, it's the goofing off sometimes that is a springboard to something really great. When we are in flow, when we're easy and just shooting from the hip, like that's where a lot of magic happens. Like with Keepy Uppy.
What is Keepy Uppy, Derek?
Keepy Uppy was a game introduced to me by you. That also
was introduced to me by Victor Lakowski, another past collaborator.
Yeah, and there's different versions of it.
It's a ball game that we use at the beginning of rehearsals just to get the ensemble together, get the blood flowing, tune into each other.
Yeah.
You keep the ball up.
Yeah, you literally just keep the ball.
Yeah.
Keep you uppy.
Keeps the
But I just find it's such a great metaphor for what we do. And you learn so much about your collaborators and their energies and how they want to approach the ball or not. And you know, when everyone is zoned in on it, and you can literally feel the room just kind of go, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the energy that we, you know, it's a creative moment that we all share in. So yeah, trying to find ways of making that happen.
Wonderful. What about you, Rob? How do you approach the process?
Well, yeah, my work has mostly been in the realm of physical theater, and recently I'm now describing myself as a mime more than I used to, and so that work is it's image based, and so like for me it's about seeking inspiration. It's about watching documentaries, watching films, listening to music, looking at art, reading books, taking walks, playing the puppies. It's drinking beer. It's like becoming this like Hoover vacuum that consumes as much as possible and then brings that into the space. And then when someone just like play this, you're just like, of course I know how to play that. Be that. I know how to be that. And I don't want to, you know, shame other actors, but there's actors who are a little like, you say, go be an astronaut in a rocket ship, and they're just like, but where do you want me to stand? You know, like,
what's my
but
intention?
what's my intention? Like, why am I in the rocket ship? And for me, I'm just like, no, be rocket ship. Like,
Be rocket ship.
be rocket ship. And so, like, yeah. So it's just, for me, my starting point is just like a consumption of inspiration.
I feel like stuff that you guys are saying now and stuff that we had talked about before in terms of practice and themes in your work, there's a little bit of overlap because it feels like, and I would agree with this too, and Greg, it's interesting maybe to hear your take on it as well I think you've got a bit of clown in you, but maybe as somebody who's not officially self-identifying as a clown, there is a kind of, the clown sometimes is the theme. And both of you said the word humanity in the questionnaire that we asked you to fill out. Rob, you were like, kind of building an imaginary world to invite the audience in and kind of exploring the human condition. Derek, you talked about humanity maybe more in the sense of, I guess in the process, the interpersonal relationships, but also with the audience and history, big H, little h, like also, again, you mentioned play, lightness, fun, follow, subvert, enjoy, repeat. That's something that you said that I liked. Follow, subvert, enjoy, repeat. But yeah, in terms of clown as a theme, or the pleasure, I feel like is also a theme. But is there any other themes that you guys like to explore in your work a little more?
I've been fascinated with like animals and how people can be animals in the work. Both as an access point to character, but also like physically being animal. Like I think that's. I've recently taught a workshop where I had the performers observing chimpanzees in the wild, like videos, and then we spent an entire class creating what that physical vocabulary was and just like being chimpanzees. And I felt that was really fun, just like,
Cool. So like kind of exploring non-human
yeah.
entry points into
But also
the
to
work
get into your body.
Right.
Get into your body.
Aren't you in a show that's called The Sheep Show
Yeah.
as well?
Yes. Les moutons.
Les moutons.
I have been playing a ram, male sheep, for a decade now. So I was actually just got back from Quebec City. I was there for 2 weeks playing this show. It's a show all about sheep and the day in the life of a sheep, and dancers, actors, all playing their best version of a sheep. And yeah, I've been doing it for 10 years. I've been to 16 countries playing a sheep.
Yeah.
So
what sheep do you've grazed in many pastures?
I've grazed in many pastures.
Check it out on YouTube, like The Sheep Show.
Yeah, it's Corpus Dance Projects. Yeah.
Yeah, Les Moutons.
Les moutons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about for you, Derek? What are some?
I guess for me, it's trying to find lifting life off the page, and so how does the moment live? How do we live on stage, and in music too? I've more recently been studying shakuhachi, and the way that it's notated is very different from Western music, and the way that the functions is very different than Western music, and I forget that. The notes on a page are notes. It isn't the music, it's a notation of the music. So what does it actually mean when it's living, breathing, vibrating? So I try to remind myself of that, when we're on stage, we're representing something and it's not real, but also it needs to feel vivid.
Well, there's like a being aspect as well, right? I think especially in clown work too. You're representing, but also you're in a mode of representation, but also just in a mode of being in a state, like this flow state or being present.
Yeah.
I just want to end on one thing, and we can maybe just talk about it briefly. You can jump in too, Rob. But Derek, it's something that you mentioned. I had asked a question to you both, like, in such a world such as ours that seems to have many problems, how or why or how do we keep making art and what's the place for it? And Derek, you mentioned something about it being healing and about a lot of maybe some artists being neurodivergent and kind of bringing that perspective in a healing way, and something intrinsically healing and human about art that I thought you both kind of touched on it as we've gone on, but maybe we could just have a little last note on that.
I think art is what makes us human. So all facets of art are what make us human. Unfortunately, it's sort of, for some reason, put down as like, something frivolous, entertainment. But it's, it's the first thing we turn to in moments of crisis, in moments of deep emotion. And it also is an opportunity for us to express the huge variety of humanity and what it means to be human. So it's all, it's such a wide range that we get to explore in so many different ways, and that includes, different ways of being, different ways of existing, different perspectives, different approaches, different abilities, different skills, all of those things that we get to, hopefully explore all of those things in its full, as much as possible, in its fullest range. And those are things that I try to keep with me in the process and in art making and sharing, to go back to that again and again.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. Any last words, Rob?
I agree with him.
Amazing. Well, guys, thanks so much for being on. We're going to take a little short break, and we'll be back with some music by the incredible Laura Barrett. That was awesome, guys. Great work. Yeah. So good.
Our next guest is a solo performer who has toured with the Magnetic Fields, played with the Hidden Cameras. She's a composer, she's an educator, and a labor advocate. Please welcome Laura Barrett.
Thank you. I now interrupt this program for a commercial jingle. Christmas Eve 2053, underneath every little girl's tree, a robot pony comb their soft and luscious nylon fur. Listen close, hear their clockwork hearts whir. Robot ponies. They feed on plastic bags, cut up like lettuce right out of your hand. Things get out of hand unless you use one of 20 preset functions to make them understand. Make them understand. You know best. You know best. And if you listen close, you can hear their hoofs clopping in this song. Choose between 7 pony types. Some like swimming, we made those babies airtight. Robot ponies. Children, parents, spread the word around. Robot ponies, take your granny out to the Robot Pony Geriatric Ranch. True story. Back to school 2054. New models on the way. Nothing's here to stay. Last year's pony doesn't mind being left behind. Being left behind. You know best. You know best.
We are back here with Laura Barrett. I gotta start here because I am a classically trained pianist. You are also a classically trained pianist. And when I was listening to your catalog again, I was struck by the fact that you are not afraid of imperfection.
Yeah, I embrace it. I love capturing the little gurgles and warbles and even coughs, just slight ones, clearings of throats. If you're gonna have something on record that is digitized and forever and ever and ever, I would rather it preserve the human parts. I have a song on a new EP where I start the song twice and I don't care. I start it and it's silly and there I am human at the beginning of the song. So you know it's not a robot who wrote it. It's not AI, right?
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. Some of my favorite recordings of piano are ones with mistakes in them, ones with people coughing. Now, this is the one time I'm gonna get a little bit geeky here. The album that you recorded in 2019, I can't remember the name, but it has like 4 different pianos on it. And what were you going for with those 4 different piano sounds?
Well, first of all, that album, Who is the Baker, by the way,
Right.
It was a long time coming. It was 11 years in the making, and some of those songs were written and recorded on a piano that was even maybe slightly out of tune at the time. Again, imperfection, I love it. And I think because it took me so long to assemble those songs, I had a travelogue of pianos. There was the piano at Union Sound that I believe was played by Oscar Peterson before it ended up there. There's my childhood piano. There's the piano at Rooster's studio, Don Kerr's studio. And now I'm blanking on the 4th piano, but there is a 4th.
I'm totally blanking too.
Okay.
Don Kerr's, the Union Sound, the big grand piano, the childhood piano.
And a 4th? Are we sure there was
Maybe
a 4th?
there was only 3 pianos.
So I love pianos. They all have their own sound and their own personality. And in fact, I just recently went through an experience of helping my dad move 2 pianos out of his house to other places. One of them is going to end up in Hamilton and is going to be played by traveling pianists from all over. And the other one is going to a friend of a friend. And that piano is 80 years old and used to belong to my grandmother. So pianos they have a voice of their own, they have a temperament, literally and figuratively, and I love exploring that. So the same song on a different piano is gonna sound completely different, as we know.
The song Eek was done on Don Kerr's piano?
That song was performed on Don Kerr's piano.
Because there's this weird effect, you're playing the arpeggios and then suddenly it gets all kind of dampened, kind of muted sound, and then it goes back to being bright, and I was like, what is going on here?
We might have done a crossfade, actually. I don't know.
I was kind of like, wait, but this is not a grand piano. It can't have what's going on here?
Pre-pandemic things and pandemic things, my brain is, I don't know, I think.
But that's another example maybe of sort of embracing honesty, because I think the last track was recorded on your childhood piano, and that's a completely different sound world.
Yes.
It's like, there's reverb, the miking is completely different, and on regular studio albums, every mic has to be placed exactly the same, and
I'm not necessarily a fan of that. And
Yeah.
I left the classical world after high school. I did the conservatory up to grade 9, and then I stopped. and I wish it'll take me years to get my grade 10, but maybe I'll do it later. That'll be a retirement project. And I'm not in that world. I have friends in that world, and I don't like the rigidity of it, and I don't like, I like exploring my own sound now. And so I take what I've got from muscle memory of those early years and then apply it to complex, fluid piano work, and then also more minimalist stuff, as you heard.
Yeah, and you really have your own sound. Like, it really is beautiful, and we talk a lot about having a genuine voice, an honest voice. Like, there's no one that sounds like you. It's a really wonderful facet. I'm going to pivot quickly to talking about, you studied piano, and you're now teaching. What do you think? We talk about the lack of arts funding. We're not learning. What should we be teaching in schools? If you had that budget, you could restore that budget. How would you teach the arts?
I would bring in many more teachers, not just from a labor and just staffing perspective, but I would want to model collaboration, because to me, in the last few years especially, and through the pandemic, I've been part of songwriting clubs, I've been part of groups and collaborations, and so to show children and our students that adults also collaborate. We are not the single voice, we're not the lone arbiter of what is right and good, and showing teachers, showing adults collaborating, I think that's crucial. Because if you only see one person who's the authority in your classroom, then you get a really warped sense of not only authority and power, but you don't get to see people working together. Because an adult and a student, if they can collaborate for sure, and I love those kinds of collaborations, but when you can see two experts or even novices working together, then you can see, well, this is how I will develop my practice. Even if I'm a solo performer most of the time, I need my friends, I need my community, because otherwise I'm lost and I can't really work in isolation. So I think both from a staffing, if I'm answering your question properly, more people in the room and more modeling of genuine collaboration and exploration and making mistakes and showing that it's fine to make mistakes because we're all human. And again, I'll return to the AI specter, which is scary and I don't really want to think about it, but we need to have more humans making the art, because otherwise what are we even here for? So, yeah.
Totally. One of your tunes is called something like, why don't we just throw out the curriculum?
Yes, it's not why don't we throw out. What if we, well, actually it's very close, and now I'm blanking on the title of my own song. A lot of my songs are questions, and I haven't answered them, but what if we something, the curriculum.
Yeah.
And what if we scrapped the curriculum this year? Thank you. And that was in response to the pandemic and what I knew would be one of the effects of the pandemic, which would be to sort of strip it to this austere, something that wasn't actually school, that wasn't learning. And really, again, it's about community, and it's about letting children and adults, but especially children working through this traumatic event, they need to learn how to be in community with each other and how to relate to one another, because otherwise, again, we're lost. So the curriculum is important, and the curriculum can be woven through, you could do an entire curriculum through an arts lens, and you can work math and geography and science in there. It's all there. And I think art is just so crucial. And yeah, I don't think I'll find any disagreement here.
You're in good company.
No, I love math.
Here's for the arts. I love math too, and
No,
you can
I know,
have
I don't
both.
like that.
But we asked that question earlier, just sort of like how and why do you make art in times that are as challenging as ours? And I think something that you've all talked about is collaboration, imperfection, humanity, seeing intergenerational collaboration. And I think just to what you're saying with the students or younger people during the pandemic, missing those opportunities to be live. And I think that's something that maybe we can, as artists, like that's what we do. We get together in rooms and talk and play, and yeah, it's nice to hear you say that.
Yeah, and it's really important. And it can happen online. And I taught grade 3 online for a little while, and I felt like I was able to create a space that felt real. I told them it was a bit like being on a spaceship, and we were all in our own little world, but then we created a world together. And it's so much about intention and just trust, and you can be together without being together, but then ultimately we want to be in the same room as much as possible to really feel things happening in the moment.
On that same album, you also address the minister, presumably Minister of Education.
Yes, you shall not be.
Yes, and I'm
Name none of them on our show.
we're lighthearted, but I mean, in all seriousness, if you could sit down with him in a friendly environment where people were just listening and exchanging ideas, what are the things that you would want to share with him from your experiences? I
mean, I would want him to, as in my song, I would want him to truly be present for a whole day in an elementary classroom. Spend a whole day, understand what it's like to be in a room with 30, sometimes more, students who all have unique needs and unique strengths, and they're not just numbers. He touts a lot of numbers, and he's deceitful about the investment that he's making, and I don't sense humanity or trust of teachers and educators. I would want him to really experience it. It's take your education minister to work day, right? and feel it, be there with us, because I think there's a lot of posturing, there are a lot of photo ops, and unfortunately they work because he's got a lot of sound bites, he's got a lot of selfies, and I would want him to be real. I would want him to be genuine and just talk to me face to face, for sure. I don't know if I truly want that interaction, but I do from an advocacy perspective, sure.
I think, I don't know about all of you, but if it wasn't for high school teachers or that's how I got turned on to art. Well, that was the gateway, and I owe it all to them, so yeah, it's so important, yeah.
And you know these clowns.
A couple of clowns over here.
From do you want to just talk about those interactions?
Sure, yeah. I mean,
if that's okay, if it's pleasurable.
Funny coincidences. So Derek and I just worked recently together on Alaska Bee and Aaron Jan's musical in development, in workshop, and it's called Meet, and it's splendid, wouldn't you say?
It's amazing.
It's really,
it's
really
what we
good.
need right now.
Great.
It's incredible. And I don't want to give too much of it away, but that is how you and I met, and I was music directing and just exploring a really amazing world and a fantastic cast. And then Rob, I know you and I haven't worked directly together, but Chell Patterson, aka SlowPitchSound, scored Italian Mime Suicide, which I loved so much. And he and I have been collaborating for a little while now, and so we've got 2 degrees of separation.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And then the Toronto arts world is tiny, so everyone eventually.
It does seem to get smaller and smaller as we go along, yeah.
Lots of little families and communities that kind of, yeah.
So final thoughts. Anybody want to? Or you can talk briefly about a teacher that really inspired you. For me, it was actually John Krisak, who was my English teacher, just by exposing me to stuff that I never would have actually encountered otherwise.
For me, grade 3, Mrs. Clemenson. I don't know if she's retired by now, probably. And in her classroom, we had a piano, we had a sewing machine. We did these really interesting metaphorical comparisons of, what's louder, 0 or 1. Things. It was just neat brain teasers. So, Mrs. Clemenson, I hope you're out there teaching or just loving life.
My grade 2 teacher, Miss Chrysler, put me in my first play. Yeah, it was just like a Christmas nativity type show, and I was not the star that led the 3 wise men, but I was one of the stars. But I was like I was like the 3rd star, but I got to like binoculars and go, there they are. And then, the rest is history.
Grade 3, Ms. Asp, and every week we had a different visual artist. And that's when I learned about Van Gogh, and my brain was just blown. And every week, every subsequent week was just, wow, this is possible.
I had, 2 drama teachers in grade 9, Mr. Shea and Mr. Labriola. Wonderful dudes, turned me on to Beckett, Joyce, devise, create, like a lot of things that I am today I owe to them. So, that was a nice note to end on. Good question.
Well, now that in the knowing what may be coming, I think we should think about who we need to support, not choosing any sides, but
in the spirit of collaboration and dialogue. Yeah. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you to our audience and thank you to our lovely guests. And we'll see you next time. Lovely. Thanks so much, everyone. BND TV.